Hello. The city of Pittsburgh has dollars designated to stop the violence, but there may be changes coming to how that money is allocated. City leaders are here to explain why. And radon is the second leading cause of lung cancer in the U.S., and the levels are high right here in Pennsylvania. We'll talk to two women determined to fight lung cancer and increase radon awareness. Plus, a local filmmaker and photographer reveals his latest project that isn't film or photographs. So pull up a chair and meet us at the corner. Intersection starts right now. Hello, I'm Lisa Smith, the Director of Community Impact at KDKA Plus and the host of Intersections. June is Gun Violence Awareness Month, and here in Pittsburgh, there are a number of organizations dedicated to curbing gun violence. But those efforts take money, which the city assists through its Stop the Violence Fund. That fund was set up through legislation passed by City Council a few years ago, and now amendments are being proposed to make the legislation stronger. Here to share more on those proposed changes are Councilmember Kahari Mosley, who was one of the sponsors of amending the legislation. Also, Felicity Williams, she is the Mayor's Deputy Chief of Staff. Thank you both so much for being with us.
Thank you.
Yeah. So, Councilman Mosley, let's kind of start with you. What's the reason behind wanting to make some changes to this legislation?
It's important that right now we codify our commitment to a public health approach to addressing gun violence. We are in a moment where federal dollars are dwindling because of the new administration, and we already know, I think, $800 million has been cut from gun violence from the federal budget. So it's time for us to act, because we know many of these organizations at a local level who have been working with public safety, who've been working with law enforcement to keep our streets safer. I know as of yesterday, I think we're 7 homicides below last year's pace, which is great. But we want to get to 0. And that's our goal, to get to 0 gun homicides at some point in the future. And this is the pathway to do it, by codifying, by establishing, adding some teeth to the structure of it, and ensuring that there's equitable distribution of funds. But really, it's responding to the moment that we're in with a lot of uncertainty with the federal government.
So Felicity, tell us a little bit about how this legislation is currently structured and what those changes would look like if approved.
Absolutely. So right now, the legislation is relatively simple in that it establishes some initial criteria for how this funding can be distributed. So some of that funding is going internally to support public safety operations, to expand that, which is critical. And then some of that funding is designated to go externally as well. And as you heard Councilman Mosley say, what these amendments really do is help provide additional structure and clarity to that funding, ensuring that we are utilizing a data-informed approach, that we are making strategic and planned investments to be both proactive and responsive to what may be emergent and dynamic trends, ensuring that we're also supporting the capacity building of those organizations who are on the ground, grassroots, doing this work, who do great work, but typically don't have back office or administrative support, and they need some of that capacity building to really strengthen themselves in our communities. As you heard the councilman say, gun violence has decreased in the city of Pittsburgh, but we're not at 0 yet, and we just had a recent string of gun violence incidents over the weekend into the earlier of this week. So the funding could not be more timely, this legislation, for us to really take action alongside those federal funding cuts that we continue to see every day.
Yeah, I know last week, Council President had a number of these groups come in for a proclamation so they can get some recognition, so that people can see who these people are and who these groups are. Councilman Mosley, tell us a little bit about what are some of these efforts that these groups do and how that actually helps to drive down gun violence.
Yeah, we have groups that do intervention. We have groups that do prevention. There's groups who actively, once an incident like happened at Garland Park Sunday night, find out potentially who are the perpetrators or folks who are close to the perpetrators, and work to keep things from escalating. And there's organizations connecting young people to workforce development opportunities, connecting folks to the housing opportunities. So it's a whole range of quality of life, but starting, understanding that so many elements of life lead to violence. So these organizations are key to partnering with public safety and law enforcement and keeping the streets safe. And I think that's exactly why we are down over the last few years from where we were right kind of in the midst of the pandemic. And so it's very important that we support these organizations, and they're in neighborhoods all over the city. They're not just in District 6 and District 9 like some may think. They're in District 1, District 2, District 3, south of the river, north of the river, in communities all over the city doing amazing work. And we have to invest in these organizations and build their capacity and support their long-term sustainability.
Yeah, we're almost out of time, but I do want to ask, how do you decide which neighborhoods or which organizations do get funding? Like how is that decided?
Absolutely. So that is part of some of what we are codifying in these amendments, adding some additional structure and process to that. Right now, there is a steering committee for the trust fund that operates relatively loosely. And they work very closely, though, in collaboration with public safety, in particular, our Office of Community Services and Violence Prevention. They have a data team that analyzes where we are seeing incidents of gun violence and working with these organizations, as you heard the councilman say, providing intelligence to us so that we can not just respond after an incident has already occurred, but get much more upstream of the violence, tackling instances in which we hear violence might occur, or even getting further upstream, as the councilman mentioned, more root causes, addressing poverty, food access, employment and workforce opportunities, making sure that we're taking that really holistic public health approach. And so it is that advisory committee who is currently reviewing alongside city government and approving awardees, but we're formalizing and adding some additional structure to that in these amendments and legislation.
Yeah, Councilman, about 30 seconds. This also involves kind of ramping up the dollars to the organizations. Why is that important?
I mean, that supports their long-term sustainability, and it shows our confidence in these organizations and in the work that they do is so important that they get the dollars they really need and not, just giving them a penance and say, go make miracles with a small budget, but treat them like we treat nonprofits all over this region who are effective at what they do and give them the resources they need to get the job done.
Yeah, and then real quickly, I saw on your Facebook page that there is a time for public comment on Wednesday,
Yes.
July 2nd, correct?
Yes.
10 o'clock in the morning.
Yes. We're asking everyone who is passionate about this issue, who has a stake in this issue, to come down to council chambers on the 5th floor of the City County building at 10 a.m., pack the house, pack the chamber, and speak directly to your council member. Whether it's me, if you live in Council District 9, or if you live in one of the 8 other districts, let your voice be heard and let them know how important it is for the rest of my colleagues on council to support this legislation that me and Council President have submitted.
All right. Well, thank you both so much for being here and sharing this really vital information. We'll be watching.
Yep, thank you.
All right. Well, coming up, people who know firsthand the impact of lung cancer are joining forces to fight it. Intersections. We'll be right back. Well, according to the Centers for Disease Control, cigarette smoking is the top risk factor for lung cancer deaths. The risk factor that comes in number 2 is something you can't see, taste, or smell. And it is all around us here in Pennsylvania. It's radon. That's why there's a project in Pittsburgh right now to raise awareness about the connection between radon and lung cancer. Joining me to share more are Joy Kiley. She is the co-facilitator for the group LiveLung Pittsburgh. She is also a lung cancer survivor. Also, we have Kirsten Ingraham. She is the executive director of Holistic Health Empowerment. And we thank you both for being with us today.
Thank you for having us.
Absolutely. So, Joy, I know you have a very personal story as it relates to lung cancer. You and your brother, correct?
He didn't have lung cancer,
Okay.
but he had a lung disease, pulmonary fibrosis,
Okay.
and lymphoma.
Okay.
And it was because of him. I had lost my brother in September of 2021 due to those diseases. I had asked my own doctor, my primary care, is there something you can do, a screening of some kind? I wasn't sure what he could give me. And he said, as a matter of fact, you're eligible for a low-dose CT scan. I said, okay, great. So I went, had the scan done. The doctor called me back and said, we see something. It could be nothing. I believe they called it a fatty nodule. So they said, what we typically do is wait 3 months to see if it grows. That was the longest 3 months of my life. And we were just heading into the holidays, and I had such shame because of my own smoking history that I didn't tell anyone. And in my brain, I thought, this may be the last holiday I spend with my kids and my family. My mother had just lost a child. I couldn't have her lose another child. So we waited until February. I had the second scan, and that's when they told me it grew. That they needed to do some more testing. I saw a pulmonologist. They did a bronchioscope. They did a bunch of other tests and blood work, and they called me on my birthday, February 28th, 2022, and said, you have lung cancer. I was like, how am I going to tell my mom? I have a twin sister. That would be devastating news. So they said, you need to see a pulmonologist. And that day after I made the appointment with the pulmonologist, I went home. My husband works from home, and I told him, don't be mad at me, because I didn't share this information, but I had such shame about it. But I have an appointment, and it's a Zoom call. It's in 1 hour, and this is what's going on. So I went through all the treatments. Everything was good. It was limited stage. They had caught it so early because of the CT scan that the treatment intent was curative, which is outstanding, because normally with lung cancer, it's caught later when it's extensive, meaning it's gone beyond one side of the lung. It's gone to the brain, the blood, the liver, your spine, and it's much harder to treat then. Mine was a curative intent. And so physically, I was like, okay, I got this. We're gonna be okay. But emotionally, I was a wreck. Yeah. So I went searching online for some kind of support, and that's when I found LiveLung. There was nothing in this area specifically for lung cancer. And when I found LiveLung, it was like a godsend. It was the answer to my prayers. And since then, I've made so many new friends, so many new contacts, people that I hope will be lifelong friends. And I've learned a lot. Like, they teach you, because with the patient or caregiver, the more educated you are, the more empowered you are, and the better outcome with resources. So now I'm proud to announce that I am the facilitator of the Pittsburgh LiveLung chapter.
So let's bring Kirsten in here, because she's working with the radon piece and making sure that there's more awareness around radon. Tell me a little bit about, in about a minute, what that means.
Thank you so much. You know, radon it's naturally occurring. There is no smell to it. You cannot see it. You cannot hear it. It's the invisible boogeyman that could possibly live in your home. And if you do not test your home to see what the radon levels are, you're putting yourself and your family, your loved ones, at risk, increased risk for developing lung cancer. It's the leading environmental cause of radon. And
then, so part of this project involves making sure that people have knowledge around community awareness, and there's testing available. Quickly tell us in about 30 seconds how people can get tested and get test kits.
Thank you. And we'll be remiss if we didn't share. The test kits are very easy to conduct. It'll come in a package, and you're able to just hang the test kit up in your home. Once you're done, during the time frame of having the kit hanging up in your home, you seal it back up, you place it in the mail, and you will receive your test results. It doesn't take very much time to do, all things considered, and we would love to be able to share the test kits that we were graciously able to share with the community through funds through Genentech at our upcoming community events.
Okay, and we're showing some of the upcoming events. I know that your educational meetings that LiveLung has every
Yes.
month. The next one is July 10th.
Correct.
And then I know you have an event coming up at a Homestead Barbershop on July 19th. There's a health fair, July 26th. We're showing that on the screen, as well as an event with River Hounds, July 29th.
Yes.
Thank you both so much for being with us. We're going to stay in touch so that we can learn more about what you're doing. All right, thank you. And coming up, a local filmmaker and photographer is making his mark in a new art form. Intersections will be right back. Our next guest is known around Pittsburgh and the country for his videos, documentaries, and photographs. But recently, his talent was on display once again with a brand new exhibit of oil paintings. Joining us now is Emmai. He is an Emmy Award-winning, Webby Award-winning artist, director, and visual artist. Thank you.
What's up,
for
Lisa?
being here.
How you doing?
I'm good. I'm good. You're doing good.
I'm trying to do good. I'm trying to do great work and trying to change people's lives at it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How did you transition into oil painting, or were you already doing oil painting?
I was already doing oil painting, but I kind of kept it in my inside pocket. I didn't want to, put it out there only because I struggle with the painting. I think it's good. I think it's not good. But I've learned to embrace that, just being an artist in general, and I'm taking a liking to painting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you have just come off of an exhibition. Was this the first exhibition?
This is the
Of your
very
oil.
first exhibition of my painting.
Yeah.
Shout out to the August Wilson African American Cultural Center for just really giving me the platform as an artist to be able to travel around the world and to have my very first painting exhibit on the island of Martha's Vineyard is just astronomical in every sense of the word, being out of this world.
Yeah. So it was 10 pieces, right?
Yes,
10
10
pieces.
pieces, yeah.
And tell us about it, how it was all kind of displayed.
Yes,
and-
absolutely. So shout out to Susanna from MV Salads. Also shout out to Kahina Van Dyke, Janice Burley. These are incredible women that really, really supported my art and just said, hey, listen, scram, get on out there. So what I did, just being an artist that might get bored a little bit easy, is I do photography, but I also do film. So I found a way to incorporate my painting and create a new art form called Trilogy Arts Media. So what that is I'll take a photo of you, then I'll do a painting of that photo, and then I'll program it with augmented reality using an app called iJack. And when you scan your phone or your smart tablet over your painting, it turns into a film that I directed.
Wow.
So you get 3 different types of art and mediums all wrapped into one.
Wow. So we have a couple of images that we can show.
Yeah, sure,
I
let's
think
show 'em.
the first one we have is Sean Jones.
Sean Jones, my man.
So look at this. So
Yes.
the left obviously is the photograph,
Yes, is the photograph I took of him at the cabaret.
and the right is the oil painting.
Yes, the oil painting using pilot and knifing and things of that nature. And it took a really, really long time to really get it exact. But I'm very, very excited. My favorite color is blue, which is why I highlight a lot of my paintings with Pacific blue is my favorite shade of blue. So with the photo and then with the art form.
And this is Thad
And
Mosley.
then you have Thad Mosley.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, this guy's in his 90s, still driving and still doing work all around the world. So I wanted to represent him, and this piece is called Dancing Hands, because the way he dances with wood is astronomical. So being able to capture him and direct a piece that you'll see come alive using augmented reality is fascinating.
I was telling somebody else about this, and I was saying it reminds me of Andy Warhol.
Okay.
Did
I'll
anybody
get.
ever say that to you?
Absolutely not.
No?
But you're a friend and you say it, which is wonderful. As an artist, a lot of people say you're the next Teenie Harris. I take it as a compliment. They say, you remind me of August Wilson. You're the next August Wilson. I take pride in that, but I just want to be the first Emmai.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Who were some of the other people depicted in the artwork? Because
Yes.
those were other artists. And did you
Absolutely,
focus
other
on
artists. Yeah, I
Okay.
focus on other artists because I love their work. That include Ursula Rucker. That included John Lewis. That also included Hebrew Brantley. And again, it's a marvelous partnership with institutions like Awake, the August Wilson African American Cultural Center, to be able to believe in artists that are Pittsburgh based, but knowing that they have the talent to go national and international as well.
Yeah. Will we see some of this here?
Yes, as a matter of fact, I am going to be working, you know, I can't say too much, but I am working with a prominent institution to bring my original pieces that are actually 5 by 4 feet. Yes, so the images that you see, they're 5 by 4 and not necessarily the small 16 by 20 that you see.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, it looks like an amazing exhibit,
Yes.
and we definitely can't wait to see it here.
Thank you.
Here locally. So,
Yes.
yeah, definitely let us know when that happens.
No, we're going to let you know what happens. You'll be the first one to cover us.
All right.
Thank you so
Definitely,
much,
I will.
Lisa.
Thank you.
All right.
All right. And I'll have my last word when we come back.
On June 28, 1969, the Stonewall Inn, a gay bar in New York City, became the epicenter of the modern gay rights movement. Police raids on gay bars across the U.S. were common in the 1950s and 60s, and although there had been several demonstrations and uprisings prior, the raid that night at Stonewall sparked days of riots which marked a new beginning for LGBTQ rights. A year later, a peaceful demonstration was held to commemorate it, and that demonstration turned into celebrations called Pride, which have continued every year since.
Safety is what we all want for ourselves, our families, our communities, our world, especially when it comes to safety from gun violence. Many communities like Pittsburgh consider gun violence a public health crisis. That means it's a big problem that requires big solutions that address things like neighborhood disinvestment, trauma, conflict resolution, and racial disparities. If the result is safe neighborhoods, is it too much to ask or spend to create a safer world? Thanks for watching. We'll see you next time on Intersections.